Warning: this video contains many spoilers from the story of Subnautica Below Zero. Please beware. The Frozen Leviathan is a large, heavily built creature with 2 horns, a set of sharp teeth, 4 limbs, and a long tail. It appears to be deceased and encased within a thick wall of ice, located inside the Phi Excavation Site. Upon closer examination of the creature, one notices large green pustules dotting the skin of the creature. The Kharaa Bacteria, a deadly disease that destroyed an entire alien civilization, infected this creature before it came to rest within the ice. And this Kharaa infection brings up many questions. Among them, a question I would like to discuss today. Why, when the player cures this creature of the Kharaa using the Enzyme 42 stashed by Sam Ayou, does all infection disappear in a matter of seconds? How does the cure travel throughout the creature in order to cure it completely? Wouldn't it need a heartbeat and therefore be alive for this to happen? Today, we're going to be talking about these answers and covering everything we know about the amazing creature trapped within the ice, the Frozen Leviathan. As the story is now mostly finished, I figured now would be a great time to cover this creature. So without any further ado, let's get right into the video. Let's start from the beginning. The Frozen Leviathan was discovered by Fred LeChance buried inside a glacier. It likely fell through the ice and was trapped inside this glacier 1,000 years ago as the Kharaa began to devastate the planet. This creature is likely the last of its kind, as the rest of its species likely died out from the Kharaa or its aftermath. The creature appears and is reported to be deceased. After its discovery, Fred LeChance immediately reported back to Alterra about his findings, and the site began to be excavated. Corridors were cut into the ice, and platforms were erected in order to better research and understand the Leviathan, and most importantly, in order to obtain a sample of the deadly bacteria. Nearby, a bunker was constructed as well in order to monitor the creature at all times, and prevent unauthorized access to the site. Alterra wished to use this site, more specifically the Kharaa Bacteria, for their own gain, and began studying and mutating samples of the Kharaa in the Omega Lab, located in the Lilypads biome. This was extremely dangerous, as although Robin, the player you play as in-game, says she's been vaccinated, a mutated strain of the disease could wipe out the entire human civilization, as it did with the precursors. Sam Ayou, Robin's sister, thought this was a bad idea, a death sentence in fact, which it likely was. She, alongside Marguerite Maida, a survivor from the Degasi who found her way over to Sector Zero, sabotaged various research stations, including the Omega Lab. Sam came up with a plan in order to stop Alterra from using the Kharaa in harmful ways, and to prevent a mutated version of the disease from infecting the human population. She was able to locate a canister of Enzyme 42, likely used in vaccinations, and stashed it in a cave in the glacial basin, where it is only accessible using a spy pangolin. Sam, unfortunately, was killed by a cave-in at the entrance of the Frozen Leviathan and was unable to finish her mission. But Robin, in an effort to finish what Sam started, located the stashed cure and injected it into the Frozen Leviathan. She injected the cure into one of the large green pustules, curing it of the Kharaa and preventing maluse of the dangerous disease. This prevented Alterra from obtaining any more samples of the deadly disease. And since the other samples were likely destroyed when the Omega Lab was sabotaged, the corrupt corporation was halted. This story, although amazing, has one major flaw. How is a single injection into one tiny spot of such an enormous creature able to cure all of the Kharaa spread throughout the body? If the creature is dead, then it would have no heartbeat, and thus no way for the cure to spread throughout the body. There is no way for the creature to be completely cured. We find a little more information about the creature upon examining the PDAs found near the Leviathan. One thing that I will note really quick is that when the Frozen Leviathan is cured, small green dots, seemingly of the Kharaa Bacteria, still remain. This may just be a texturing mistake by the developers, maybe the green dots are just part of the creature's skin, or maybe the Kharaa isn't fully cured. When the pustules of the Kharaa are scanned, the PDA tells us environmental conditions and subtle mutations suggest that this variant of the Kharaa bacterium's rate of transmission is somewhat lower than that of the widespread outbreak previously reported on 4546b. Despite the risk, further research is recommended. This tells us that this creature is infected with the mutated form of the Kharaa found in the crater, meaning it could have different capabilities. It likely mutated to survive in freezing cold environments, and many other aspects of the disease may have changed as well. This also tells us how scary it is for Alterra to be messing with this disease if it is able to mutate so easily. This may mean that the vaccine Robin is injected with is futile against this mutated form of the disease. Scanning the claws, horns, skull, and teeth provide us with more information about how the creature moves and survives. But when all of these parts are scanned, we are given access to a full body scan of the creature. Along with this, the PDA tells us, in the voice of a researcher, "We found this thing buried in a glacier. Gave someone a heck of a fright. Turns out it was walking around 1,000 years ago when it fell through the ice. It was infected with the Kharaa bacterium, the aggressive disease which wiped out the architects and almost all life on the planet. It is unclear whether the mutated Kharaa pustules present are responsible for the ultimate demise of the creature. Since the enzyme cure was released on 4546b, the bacteria has been all but eliminated. Rare specimens like these provide our only live source. Research on the bacterium has been transferred to the secure Omega laboratory, while further research on the creature will be conducted at the excavation site. This supports basically all of what I talked about earlier. It tells us that the creature was alive 1,000 years ago. The Kharaa infecting it is a mutated form of the original disease, that the bacteria was transferred to the Omega laboratory for further research, but it also tells us a few more things. We are unsure if the creature was killed by the Kharaa bacteria. This means it may not be necessarily dead, but it is a PDA entry found inside the research site, a security log that gives us some incredibly interesting information. It tells us the following.
Patrol log, excavation site, day 33, morning. I thought I saw something moving on the screen, but it was just that I sneezed. Wiped it off. Fred's not convinced the Leviathan is really dead, but I've never even seen it blink. Nevertheless, I am now undertaking the mandatory foot patrol. Inside the cave, confirming a whole lot of nothing. Creature still dead, cave still boring. I miss the mining site. At least you could talk to people. Oh, wait now, what's this? A rock! I found an interesting rock. That makes 3 this week. The others will be happy to have a friend. Concluding patrol. Perimeter secured. Nothing to report. End log.
This important log tells us that some people, namely Fred LeChance, the person who discovered the very creature, is not sure the Leviathan is really dead. Parvin, the security officer monitoring the Leviathan, goes on to tell us that he's never seen any evidence of it living. Yet out of caution, he now regularly undertakes a foot patrol of the area. Could this creature actually be alive? Well, it would explain by when Robin cures the creature, the enzyme is able to spread throughout the creature's body. The pulse of blood from the enormous creature's heart is the only thing in the body capable of transporting the enzyme throughout the entire body. And if the heart is still pumping, it would have to be alive. At least kind of alive. Since the Leviathan is located inside the ice, its heartbeat would be incredibly slow, and its body would be placed in a state of stasis, which we'll talk about a little bit later. When Robin cures the creature, the Kharaa disappears notably fast. In real life, if the creature is alive, which is the only reason the Kharaa would be able to spread, this process would take a much longer time. And if it is alive at all, its heartbeat would be even slower than usual. But we must remember, it's just a game, and waiting 30 minutes for the Kharaa to be eliminated from the creature wouldn't be fun. So is the creature alive? Could it be alive trapped within the ice? Well, there's a lot to cover. Let's say the creature is alive. This would explain why the enzyme is able to travel throughout the body, curing the Kharaa. But how is it alive? One possibility is that the frozen Leviathan could be preserved in a state of stasis, like we talked about before. A state of stasis is the state an organism enters when the creature is inactive and has a very slow heartbeat. This is similar to hibernation. Many creatures during the extreme colds of Antarctica and during their yearly hibernation cycles are able to drastically slow their heartbeats and remain not moving for months at a time. Now, hibernating for 1,000 years is a little different. It may not even be possible, but we must also keep in mind that a creature like this would have a remarkable lifespan. It would be different than anything we've seen on Earth. So 1,000 years for it wouldn't necessarily be as long as it is for us. One amazing example of this state of stasis occurring here on Earth is present within the Arctic ground squirrel. These small, furry creatures are able to cool their bodies beyond their freezing point, about 25 degrees Fahrenheit or -3 degrees Celsius. During this state, their bodies are completely shut down, and they are even able to sever neural connections. In other words, they're basically dead. However, weeks later, they wake up and their neural connections are restored. How is this possible? If a small rodent, like the Arctic ground squirrel, is able to do this, could a large creature like the frozen Leviathan do so also, on a much larger scale? Well, there's still a lot more to talk about, but it's definitely possible. Science fiction movies and novels alike sometimes talk about the process in which astronauts are induced into a state of stasis. Where their bodies are put into a deep sleep, the process of aging is halted, and they are fed nutrients to keep their bodies alive. This would happen so that astronauts could go on incredibly long missions without worrying about aging or really anything else. Could this actually happen to humans? Well, it's uncertain. Companies today are definitely developing the technology to do so. And the fact that humans and animals alike can and could do this tells us that the frozen Leviathan, an alien creature with unique abilities, may also be able to do this. Another reason that may contribute to explaining how the Frozen Leviathan could survive is that it is adapted to live in incredibly cold temperatures. Maybe a creature from Earth, unfit for such temperatures, and with a much shorter lifespan, would be unable to do it. But with the Frozen Leviathan, who knows? Now before you guys yell at me in the comment section below, telling me that the odds are against anything like this happening, and that the creature is dead, save your breath, or rather your typing. I know, I want you guys to understand that it's most likely that the creature is dead. Being trapped within the ice for 1,000 years is bound to kill you, if the Kharaa doesn't kill you already. I always thought the creature was dead. It makes the most sense. The odds of it surviving are incredibly low. Only when I saw Robin cure the creature for the first time did I start to really think about this. Because it being alive is really the only major thing that could explain how Robin is able to cure the frozen beast. A medically induced coma is a coma or a state of deep sleep that is induced by a doctor in order to give the body time to recover from an injury. The fact that comas can happen, regardless of whether they are induced or not, may also contribute to why the creature is alive. We've seen many instances where creatures are able to remain inactive for incredible amounts of time, including in comas. In fact, comas can last years. And if life forms can maintain a state of stasis for long periods of time, why couldn't the Frozen Leviathan have done a similar thing? Medically induced hypothermia, when hypothermia is induced by doctors in order for a patient to recover from an injury, may also contribute to this as well. The cold is known to preserve objects and creatures. If so, then why not the Frozen Leviathan? All in all, it is possible that the Frozen Leviathan could be preserved within the ice, in a state of stasis, a coma, hibernation, or another similar method of surviving for long periods of time. Because it is a completely unknown and unique creature with unknown properties, and because there is evidence of something like this happening with other creatures, it is possible that the Frozen Leviathan could have survived. I think it could have been placed in a state of stasis by a combination of the previously discussed possibilities, or just simply one of them that makes the most sense. Maybe by a similar but unique process we don't know about, that's only seen on 4546b. The large amounts of body fat provided by its bulky structure could give the creature the nutrients it needs, or the creature could simply just survive without food or water at all, although the ice could give it water, and its fat could provide nutrients. But if you really think about it, it really seems unlikely. There's a lot of ifs and things that would need to go perfectly, but it's not impossible. There's much evidence that could explain its survival, and it's really the main thing that explains why the enzyme Robin injects is able to spread throughout the creature's body. So it must be the answer, right? When I was making this video, I wonder what the developers meant for the creature. Did they mean it to be alive or dead? If it was meant to be dead, how does the enzyme spread? Why did they hint that the creature is alive in the security logs? So I decided to go ask them. When I asked them, they responded with this: it was always intended to be dead. So we learned it was never meant to be alive, like I originally thought when I heard about it for the first time. It makes sense. Then I asked how the enzyme spread, and they responded with, it's one of those mysteries we're trying to keep in the game, so there's no specific answer. It's one of those things we want people to theorize about. I can't say I wasn't a little disappointed with this. They want us to theorize about what allows this to happen, which of course is exactly what I'm doing in this video, but it also just kind of seems like an excuse. Well, we need the plot to work this way, so the creature just needs to be cured by this tiny injection. They tell us it's dead, yet the only thing that explains how the enzyme spread is that it's alive. Obviously, I'm not hating on the developers in any way. I absolutely love their games. I'm just trying to do what they asked us to do, theorize about it. But after this response, I really just wonder if in the end we might just have to remember, it's just a video game, as much as I hate to do so. But there may be one possibility that would explain how the Leviathan is dead like the developers intended it to be, but also how the enzyme is able to spread and cure the entire creature. It is possible that the enzyme is able to spread throughout the creature because of how the enzyme works. In the original Subnautica, when you are exposed to enzyme 42, the enzyme is absorbed into your body, and similarly to the Frozen Leviathan, it cures the Kharaa relatively fast. This may just be due to the fact that nobody wants to wait 5 minutes to be cured, but I think that it's because of how the enzyme works that explains the speed. The enzyme basically hunts down and cures all the Kharaa. It is able to spread throughout the body without the aid of a heartbeat, hunting down the Kharaa no matter where it resides, simply due to how the enzyme functions. You may also be wondering, if the frozen creature wasn't able to survive, how is the Kharaa still living? Well, the Kharaa may simply feed off the frozen creature, obtaining energy from the flesh of the very dead but preserved Leviathan. It would be able to survive the cold due to the fact that this is a mutated form of the original disease, capable of surviving in extremely cold temperatures. So, all in all, the creature could very well be alive. We know the developers didn't intend it to be alive, and it makes sense, it died, and was preserved by the ice due to the freezing cold temperatures. Then, when the enzyme was injected, it didn't need a heartbeat to travel throughout the body because of the nature of the enzyme. But in some ways, that possibility seems like a stretch. Maybe the Frozen Leviathan is really alive after all, because that may best explain how the cure is able to spread throughout the entire body of the frozen creature. In the end, it's up to the player to decide how they will interpret this amazing game. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Do you think the Frozen Leviathan is alive? Or dead? Why? Do you have any questions about Subnautica or Subnautica Below Zero that I could answer in a video? Questions or concerns? Please let me know. I will try to respond to all you guys. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, it helps me out a ton, plus it's free. These videos take a lot of time, and the best way you can support me is by subscribing. Help me reach 3,000 subscribers as fast as possible. Also, please check out my other Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero content. You may like it. Be sure to check out my Discord server and my Twitch channel. If you want to be awesome, please support me on Patreon. Thanks to my patrons, Sir Lord Mister, King Nocho, and Charles the Bold Action Man. Become a patron and support today, and I will see you guys in the next video.